Why do employers make you guess the salary? So if you guessed a high, they can say no, sorry, we usually pay around this much for your position, and if you guess too low, they can be like great, next question. It's so they can cast the widest net of applicants. The best thing you can do is state that it's negotiable and you have to take into account all benefits when making a consideration and give a range. That way if they give you a low salary, you can say I sure hope there are a lot of benefits to be on the low end of my expectations, is this worth pursuing? And negotiate to a point that's mutually beneficial or move on without wasting either party's time. I always post the salary range with the job advertisement, saves everyone time. I am not sure why other companies try to hide it, it never made sense to me. I've been hiring for a living for my entire professional career, about 25 years. I'm reasonably sure they will say this is too high no matter what the number is. This is not a guessing game, it is an attempt to force you to name the first number which will then be pushed downward. Negotiation 101. The interviewer is a dick. I'm not saying absolutely don't accept the job, they may not represent the entire company, but take that into account during the remainder of the process. So they can lowball the shit out of you, it's so obvious. They are hoping you guess low. I once applied for a job that didn't post the salary. When I asked what it would be, they responded with, well, we're looking for someone who is more focused on the job itself as opposed to the salary. I shut down the second they said that, and ended the interview shortly after. Either accept the interview not knowing the wage range or potential offer and wait till they make one, or don't take the interview before knowing the range. Employer, I'd like to interview you for the position. Does this time work? Me, that time works great. Out of interest in saving everyone time, what is the wage range for the position? I want to make sure we are in the same ballpark. The employer can then answer with a range or not, at which point you can make the choice as to whether or not you proceed. They already know the range. They know what they can afford. You should also know the wage you are worth or hoping to get for the proposed position. If you don't know enough about the position to know an approximate wage, you should either be fine taking the interview without a wage or not take the interview. If they don't know enough about you from your application to offer an appropriate and approximate range, they probably shouldn't be giving the interview, because they aren't serious or are fishing or don't know what the position entails. I've hired a lot of people over the years, so I'll explain what it's meant for my company. Say for a given role we will pay $90K to $110K, average of $100K depending on your experience and expectations. We would ask for your salary expectations at the start of the process. If you say anything less than $90K, my company will set a slightly lower pass bar for the interview and offer you $90K if you pass the interviews. If you ask for something within the band, we calibrate the interview to how far in the band you are. If you ask for above the band, we tell you the max and set a more difficult interview panel. If you ask for something way out of band, say $180K, we suggest this isn't the right role for you. That being said, some companies are super unethical and just use it, hire people for as little as possible. Often it's safe to put the question back on them. Before talking to a recruiter or hiring manager, do research on Glassdoor and other sites for salary for similar roles. Look for roles in states like Colorado if in USA, as they require salaries to be posted on jobs. Then the conversation can go like this: interviewer, what is your expected salary for this role? Applicant, that's a great question. I've done some research on the market salary for this position, but ultimately I still need to learn more about the role, responsibilities, growth and other benefits before knowing what my salary expectations would be. What is the salary range you have budgeted for this position? Any good recruiter will expect this question back to them and provide you with a range. If they don't, encourage them to get back to you or avoid the company. Interviewed, we're targeting 60-100K. Applicant, that range is acceptable. I'm looking forward to continuing this process to see what you're able to offer me. Or given my experience and the responsibilities of the role, I'm only looking for positions above 110K. At one point you'll be offered a salary. Compare this to your expectation. Ask for 10 more or other benefits. Always ask for more. Always make them give a number first. I always ask what the salary is up front. I never answer how much you are expecting. They have a range. Colorado recently passed a bill that requires the salary to be listed on all job postings. This is amazing and should be adopted everywhere. The problem is you're talking about salary during the interview. HR does salary negotiations, not the people interviewing you. If you bring up salary during the interview, you're just giving away leverage, as the info you give will just be passed on to HR. Wait until you get a salary offer, then the negotiating begins. It helps also to never tell them how much you made at your previous job. You know they have a budget. They budgeted money for the position. Ask them what they budgeted for it. Because they want to pay you as little as they can. They have a maximum number they are willing to pay for a given role. If they just tell you that number, that's what you'll want. The highest you can make for your work. They want to pay under that number if they can, so they make you guess. If you guess lower than that number, that's what they'll pay you. Yes, it's scummy. My typical response to this is something along the lines of, I expect to be paid a competitive salary in line with the role. Right now, you have a better idea of what that is than I do. If I ask for something above market, you'll tell me no or otherwise compensate with my bonus or just refrain from giving me any raises over time. If you pay me under market, you'll find out pretty quickly and act accordingly. I do prefer to be with this company for a while, so I think that's in both our interests. Doesn't work for every situation, but it will for a lot of roles. My province recently passed legislation that forces employers with public postings to include a pay range. It's so incredible seeing everything up front and saves so much time. And my bet is that those who used to keep it quiet are seeing many fewer applications. I hope it will force some change. My employer is actually going to start posting salary ranges on job listings, and I would not be surprised if many US states start regulating this too, having businesses advertise up to $15 an hour. And then after you make your way through the interviews, you only get offered $12 is deceptive. Every business owner has a range in mind, a floor and a ceiling, and it's okay to base that range and what the worker gets based on their experience, necessary training they may or may not need, etc. But what isn't right is advertising only one part of the range and then offering something far below that. I always use sites like Glassdoor to look up a salary range and do 0 to 10 of their high end, but bless job posts that have the salary ranges on their posting. Don't waste my time or your time with an interview then offer me $20K less than what I make now.